Hello everyone, welcome to Amy and Larry's Kitchen. Today we're going to be trying a new recipe that we have never cooked before. Even though the title of the recipe makes it seem like it's something that would be easy to fix, and it is fairly easy to do as long as you follow it step by step. We're going to be making a chicken broccoli, macaroni and cheese with bacon dish. Now, in the interest of saving time, I have already prepared some things ahead of time, just to let you know. For example, you're going to need about 3 cups of broccoli, chopped up, fresh broccoli, right there. You're going to need about 12 ounces of skinless chicken. I'm using chicken breast, cut into about 1/2-inch squares. You're going to be frying up some bacon and cutting it up. We'll have the quantities or the amounts down below the video in the recipe section. And of course, as always, you can adjust these quantities to fit your needs. Plus, I have already on the stove a pot with some macaroni noodles in it. And I've got about 8, maybe 10 ounces of macaroni noodles. The original recipe starts off with 6, but that depends on the number of people you're going to be feeding with your meal. So these noodles have been cooking for just a few minutes. They are almost done, but what I need to do next to these noodles is go ahead and put in my broccoli so that it will be cooking along with them. We're going to stir that up. Get that mixed in good. The recipe, just to show you that you don't have to follow it 100%, called for fresh broccoli. We didn't have any fresh broccoli, but we did have some packages of frozen broccoli. So I just thawed them out, cut them up into smaller pieces, and we're going to use that. Either way, it's going to be about the same. Now, we're going to let this continue to cook for a few minutes while the broccoli softens and gets done. So, earlier, as I mentioned, in preparing to film this video, I had pre-cooked my bacon. The recipe calls for 3 pieces of bacon. Well, if you're like me and you like bacon, I didn't settle for just 3. I put about 6 or 7 pieces of bacon in the pan and cooked it, and took it out, drained it, the bacon, and chopped it up. I left the bacon grease in the pan right here, and that is what we're going to use to cook our chicken with. So I'm going to go ahead and put the chicken in the frying pan. I've got it turned on, getting warmed up. And what we're going to do is we're going to be cooking this until, and turning it until the chicken is done. And depending on your stove, how high you want to cook it. Right now I've got it on medium heat. Will determine how long you need to cook this. And while this is cooking, I'm going to go ahead and season it a little bit with some salt. It's up to you to determine how much you want to use. I just kind of wing it by ear. I like to put a little pepper on it. can also do this at the table. You don't have to do it right now. And it also calls for 1 teaspoon of minced garlic. So we're going to add some of that to it. I love the smell of garlic. It smells so good. I'm going to give it a heaping teaspoon, just like that. I've got garlic powder in the cabinet if I wanted some more to sprinkle on later, but we'll just give it one good size teaspoon right now, and continue to cook our chicken. Like I said, I've got this on medium heat, so it shouldn't really take that long. Naturally, you want to make sure your chicken is done completely. They always say, and I never have a meat thermometer, to cook it to 165 degrees interior temperature. But if you do much cooking, you can tell just basically by looking at it when it's done. Now, I'm going to come back over here to our noodles and broccoli and continue to stir that, making sure that hopefully all the noodles get cooked. I've got this on, in fact I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. Got this on a medium heat also. Everybody's stove is different. Our medium heat sometimes is a little bit hotter than I think some of the other people's. But anyway, and if I feel like I'm going to run low on water while it's cooking, I can always add a little bit more. The last thing I want is for the noodles to be sticking at the bottom of the pan. So that's not a problem. I just put maybe, I don't even think it was a cup. Because when we get done cooking the noodles and the broccoli, we're going to be draining them anyway with a colander. And I'm the world's worst when it comes to spilling things. Alright, go back over here to our chicken next. Stir that a little bit. It seems to be cooking up pretty good. Smelling good. Won't be too much longer. You can always take a piece if you're not sure if it's done and cut it with a knife to make sure that it's not pink in the middle. But as you can see, it seems to be cooking up real well. Now this won't come out crispy right now because I have not added any flour to it. But you'll see in a minute that we will have a mixture that includes flour. And I'll tell you about that when the chicken is about done. That we're going to pour over this mixture of chicken, and it's going to make like its own gravy. So we can continue to let that cook. Doing good. Our noodles are cooking up good. Won't be too much longer. This meal really, once you get the hang of what you need to do, will not take you that long to prepare. I would say everything included, you can fix this meal in about 30 minutes. That's cooking the bacon. Cutting up your broccoli ahead of time. And it doesn't take that long to boil noodles. This is looking good, I think. The chicken. I think it's almost done. I'm going to turn these noodles down a little bit because I think they're about done too. I'm not going to take them off the high yet. But what we're going to do next is pour this mixture that I made, and I'll tell you what's in it in just a second, over the chicken and the juices that have come out of it cooking. And if you'll pardon our bowls, we are the greatest at using whipped topping bowls for extra bowls as far as cooking and stuff. That way if I burn one or mess one up on the stove, I can just throw it away and not have to worry about it. But what I have in my hand here is a milky mixture, 1 1/4 cups of milk, 1 cup of chicken broth, 1/4 cup of flour, about 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and I like a little bit of pepper, so I put a little pepper in it. And we're going to pour that right over the chicken. And we're going to bring this to a boil again. So what I might do is turn it back up a little bit. I want to make sure I get all this good seasoning and stuff out of there. So I'm going to turn this up a little bit more so we can bring our chicken to a boil. There are noodles again. Looking good, smelling good. And as soon as that chicken comes to a boil, the gravy mixture, which it's already starting to bubble a little bit, we'll turn it down, stir it for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to be draining our noodles and broccoli. So just like making, if you ever make your own gravy, this is basically the same thing. A little bit of milk, a little bit of flour. You can add your own seasonings to it. A little bit of pepper. Put it in the pan. Let it get warm. Turn it down and just stir it. And eventually it'll begin to thicken. It makes a very nice gravy. I can tell already, even though it's not, starting to boil a little bit, it will begin to thicken pretty quick. And believe it or not, once it does that, we are almost done. And we've only been videoing probably less than 10 minutes, and we've got a meal with the prep done ahead of time complete. So this is looking so good. I like for my gravy to be a little thick. That is starting to thicken up nicely. It's amazing how much a good gravy adds flavor to whatever item it is that you're going to be putting it over, whether it just be mashed potatoes, a homemade biscuit, piece of chicken, piece of steak, rice. I'm going to turn this down now. It's getting pretty active. And in the meantime, I'm going to take just a second to drain my noodles. In fact, just so that this doesn't just scorch or anything, while I'm draining my noodles, give me 1 second, and then we'll be pouring that gravy over the noodles. Alright, ready? I'm going to take my noodles and I'm going to drain them. Alright. I'm going to be putting them back in the pot. Let's see if I can do this without spilling them. Yep, not too bad. There we go. Now, I'm going to take our the next item, the last item that I'm going to add to it as far as the cooking part is some shredded cheddar cheese. And we're going to sprinkle that in. I don't know, you can use about a half a cup or whatever you feel suited to. Alright, we're going to stir that. Well, I think what I'm going to do, rather than stir it, we're going to take, I'm going to turn this back on just for a minute, keep it, make sure it stays warm. I'm going to take our gravy, see how that's thickened up right there? I'm going to pour it right in the pot with the noodles and broccoli and cheese. Then we're going to stir it up real good. Excuse the mess I made on the stove, but you know, you get into this cooking routine, sooner or later you are going to make a little bit of a mess, but nothing we can't clean up in a matter of a couple minutes. So, I am stirring this up. Oh, it looks so good. The gravy and stuff worked out great. Mixing the chicken and the cheese together, and that is looking so good. I hope you can see that well, but it is rich, creamy, broccoli, cheesy, and then, last but not least, now you can do this when you put it in your plate, but you take your bacon that you just cooked and crumbled up, and you sprinkle it all over the top of it. I think when I make this again, I'm going to cook a whole pound of bacon. I would love it. You just sprinkle it all over the top. Just like that. You could have some extra if you wanted to, so once you put it into your plate, you can sprinkle more over it. And then when you're done with that, if you want to top it off either on your plate or in the pot, you can sprinkle a little more cheese, because this is macaroni and cheese with broccoli and bacon. So we'll just sprinkle that right over the top of it. And we have a meal ready to eat. Now, I hope you have enjoyed watching this. Like I said, this is our first time making this, and I can tell already that it is going to be wonderful. So, let us know if you do try it. Let us know if you have made it before, if you've done anything differently. I'd sure appreciate hearing from you. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel, because we try and come up with some different recipes every so often that maybe if you're like me, sometimes you get bored with trying to fix the same thing day in and day out. So we always look for something different. Like, subscribe, leave us a comment, give us a thumbs up, and we sure appreciate it. Let us know what you think of it, and we'll catch you all in the next video.